What up, y'all? It's your boy, Night2727, and this is 3DS versus iOS and Android. Alright, now basically the main problem I've been having with Nintendo is that their lack of work, their dumb decisions, like late ports, a bunch of remakes. You launch a new handheld that's supposed to be so popular and powerful as 3D, but yet you have no games, very poor launch window, um, just a lot of disappointments. Mega Man Legends delayed, along with eShop. Originally both were delayed, and then eShop delivering, but lack of content is new. Everything's just old crap. But first, we're going to talk about the handheld history. So basically, the handheld history is you have Nintendo, the original NES, and pretty much that stacks up with the Game Boy. The Game Boy, and that went pretty much hand in hand with graphics. The Game Boy Color was pretty in between, kind of like early Super Nintendo, like right before, and then Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance were pretty much the same thing. Then you have the DS, and the Nintendo 64. But I'd say that the DS was a little more powerful. So we finally get from there a long decade. I mean, it felt like a decade for the DS. I mean, you get the DS, DS Lite, DSi, DSi XL. They really dogged the mess out of the DS. So then we finally have something new, and nobody really knows the true capabilities yet. But just from early work we've seen, the 3DS is pretty much equal to the Wii and GameCube. Now, the GameCube and the Wii are pretty much the same thing. Check out the screenshots from Resident Evil. So, Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition looked almost identical. And then when you toss in Resident Evil, the Mercenaries from the 3DS, looks almost exactly the same. So there was a screenshot comparisons. Now let's get into what I actually wrote to Nintendo, and I actually responded back and said they're going to forward it and post it up for the other members to see, other developers, and take my thoughts into consideration, which is probably just a lie to get me to shut up and stop ranting about them. But I've been behind Nintendo since the start. My family at least had every console, a stack of games to go with it, just about every handheld. So you can't say I didn't support Nintendo. So reason why that the 3DS wasn't doing well is because of the price. For one, the price was what, $250, and then if you get a game after taxes on the 3DS itself, because after taxes is about $260 at GameStop for me, and then with a new game it's pretty much $300 for the new handheld and one game. Little pricey, don't you think? The view, like the target audience, is really hazy, because when you look at it, I think you have to be over 7 to even view 3D in the first place. I know I'm not buying something like that to mess up my child's eyesight, just because of a 3D effect. Regardless, kids are curious. You put a parent lock on her, they still probably get it. You're at work, they're playing, they're messing up their eyes. So, and for kids, the lack of kiddie games, because you don't know, it's not like too many Pokemon on there. I mean, there's some kiddie stuff, but nothing like too basic. I think there's like a SpongeBob game. For teens, I guess they can do well with Street Fighter and Dead or Alive, but I mean, Street Fighter's another late port. Maybe Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, which is another late port. I think Ghost Recon that could appeal for teens, but nothing. I mean, the teens really wanted Mega Man Legends 3. And I definitely would have played that too, even though I never even played the series before. But it's just a good 3D, 3D environment platformer slash action. You could shoot cannons, upgrade your weapons, got some nice melee attacks. You don't really get that in third-person adventure games anymore. Um, for hardcore gamers, what is there? Don't even count Zelda because that's a remake slash late port. Resident Evil Mercenaries, and half of the people don't like that because they're too cheap to buy it new because of the save data. I mean, 3DS games aren't that expensive. $40 isn't that bad at all compared to the $60 price tags for console games. It's a $20 difference. It's not that bad. 35 used, and once the price drops, it's usually like around 20 bucks. It's not bad at all. So the launch window was horrible. A bunch of late ports, remakes. I mean, look what's on the way. We still got Star Fox 64 remade in 3D. Ocarina of Time came out. Street Fighter, which I mind you that all these games did look good. I got to give it to them. They did put some effort into Zelda. I actually did have it. I just got rid of it, traded it in. It The graphics were very nice. They added some gyroscope controls, which was interesting. You moved the system to actually throw the bow, just to aim it, and then you press the button to throw it. It was pretty good. Star Fox actually looks amazing. I never played that before. I just might get it because there's nothing good out now. Thor 3D, Thor God of Thunder, it's pretty much looking like the Wii port right now. Same thing as the Wii, just on a 3DS. That's actually great for the handheld itself, but the game Thor just sucked. Oh yeah, Captain America, believed to be a full 3D world, not just a 2D side scroller, full 3D world, also in 3D, and it's pretty much a Batman clone. Like the fighting system is pretty much from Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. Pretty much string combos together, has like some kind of spider sense to let you know to counter, and then keep going, just constant flow of combos, and be able to throw the shield. I just don't really agree with the platforming. Captain America just kind of takes away from it, but whatever. So, pretty much, what is the competition right now for the 3DS? Pretty much iOS. The iPod Touch, iPhone. That's pretty much the main market, and Android, which pretty much iPod, iPhone, and Android are the same thing. They're running pretty much the same games, same kind of style. You got to market very, very cheap games, and these games are simply amazing. I recently just found out about all this. I was pretty much against iPods. I really hated them. But when I seen, the iPod Touch and all the things that it's doing right now, I really checked it out just because I'm a gamer. I played some of the games, and they're amazing. Spider-Man Total Mayhem. Here's a screenshot of that. Shadow Guardian. Which is pretty much a fake clone of Uncharted. For like you PS3 owners, Uncharted, I mean on an iPod, and it works very well. The controls are solid. Just simply amazing. Something that you can get for under 10 bucks. And I mean, you look at what they have on the handhelds, like the DS and the PSP. These games were like, well, the DS was what, 30, and the original PSP was around 40, I believe, 40 for a game. And you're getting something that's that same quality on an iPod or on a cell phone for like under $10, and it's just like completely, just way above these console-like handhelds, the name brand ones, the DS and the PSP. Now, the PSP Vita, if that's how you pronounce it, it's not even probably going to come out this year. It's probably going to be 2012 for North America, but Japan, it might come out around Christmas time. That's a might. Now the price is pretty much where Nintendo was. Now if nobody really bought the 3DS, then why would you buy the PSP? But then again, the PSP has way better graphics, can do way more stuff. But the price tag is ridiculous because the PS3 is the same price as the PSP Vita. So it's like, why would I get the handheld when I can just get the console? Unless, you already have one. But it's not really that much of a reason. And they need to have a solid launch window. I think they need to open up with like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, if that's going to come out this year. That maybe that Resistance. They have, something good that would really appeal, like Nintendo didn't do. But if they're not coming out this year, in 2011, that is an opportunity for Nintendo to do something big. Now I believe Mario Kart and Super Mario Land are about to drop this year. Kid Icarus is postponed to next year. Resident Evil, what is it? Revelations. That's 2012 also. Would honestly think if WWE 12, the new wrestling game, is SmackDown vs. Raw, but they just dropped it, changed it to WWE 12. I think if that actually lands this year on the 3DS as like a surprise, it's announced for the Wii. So pretty much the Wii version in 3D is what we're expecting. But if that is actually a surprise title, that could actually help the 3DS. 3DS needs a big surprise. Mario Kart's gonna pick it up, but I mean it's just not now. The system came out in March, and everybody who bought it's been suffering. And the stupid ambassador program for those who bought it for the trifling price, we're gonna give you 10 free games. That would be 20 free games. You hear that, you go bananas. There's like, what is it? Oh, Nintendo games. What am I doing with Nintendo games? Are they in 3D? No. Do they have multiplayer? Well, some of them do, but you can't have it right away. You have to wait. What is the point? And then you don't even get everything all at once. First of all, we don't even know everything that we're getting. I think, honestly, if you're going to even waste some of the space of the 20 games with Mario games, you shouldn't even do it. If you want Mario games, they might as well just release the Super Nintendo version of Super Mario All-Stars, including Super Mario World. Just release that on the Super Nintendo for the eShop. What is the point of giving us the NES version of Super Mario or the Game Boy Advance version of Super Mario 3? What is the point? It's just the same thing. You might as well just release All-Stars, and it has all of them. It has it has the Lost Worlds, which is Super Mario 2 in Japan. It had 2, 3, and 4, which is Super Mario World. So I mean, they're just eating up space. And what do they have? Double Dragon for the Game Boy, but it's not even released in North America. If you're gonna release a Double Dragon, at least do Double Dragon Advance, which was easily the best in the series. Or if you want to put some beat 'em ups on there, get Dragon Ball Advance. Dragon Ball Z, just Dragon Ball. That was a very solid beat 'em up. Final Fight. They're probably not gonna release anything good for the Game Boy Advance that people care about. But Metroid is one of the good ones. I think if WarioWare, if it's not using any kind of gyroscope, then there's really no point. So what Nintendo needs to do is take these iOS games and port them over to the 3DS eShop. Because I mean, they can still do what they're doing with their games and getting a bad rep. But what they need to do is take these games that are making the iOS and the Android popular and putting it to the 3DS. And what makes sense is because when you have these games on your phone, you only have a few buttons nowadays. So you're usually putting in the landscape mode, and it emulates an analog stick. The 3DS has a touchscreen. It has an analog stick right here, the circle pad, a touchscreen, and face buttons. Now, the problem is that the 3DS only supports a one touchscreen. It doesn't have a multi-touch, so you can't just port the controls over. but it does have gyroscope. So for games like Spider-Man, you use an analog stick, you just port that over to the circle pad. If you need to shoot, you can probably put it to the top buttons, aim, shoot, jump. Everything can just be ported as controls with some touchscreen controls, just like camera angles or, pause, you want to change your weapons, simple stuff like that, what the touchscreen is really meant for, not a full touchscreen game. And stuff like for Need for Speed Shift, that should be ported over to the eShop. If you have an iPod and you have a 3DS, it's like, why would I buy it on a 3DS over the iPod? It's because of the button layout. It has everything that the iPod has and more. As a gamer, you naturally feel more comfortable with buttons. So if they start putting this stuff on the eShop rather than just a bunch of crap, just a bunch of Game Boy titles, you bought a 3DS for 3DS games and you're not getting it. You're getting a bunch of old stuff thrown back at you, and you're paying more money for stuff that you probably still have. A lot of people on YouTube talking about these games usually have a stack of it in the back, so it's really a waste. I would really love to see Spider-Man Total Mayhem, Need for Speed Shift, Shadow Guardian, TNA Wrestling Impact, all on the eShop. There's other games out there, but just like the main graphical stuff needs to be ported over. Backstab, I think, the Assassin's Creed 3D one, they got a lot of stuff that needs to be ported, and Nintendo really needs to pick it up because they're lacking. They can still do what they do, but just also pick up these games from Android, and a lot of it is just from Game Law. Toss it on the eShop, don't do nothing to it, just give it a simple button layout, and there you have it. That's my Nintendo rant. I'm Knight2727. Thanks for watching.